Aloha and welcome to week number 7, module number 7, Invitational Speaking. This is one of the most fascinating chapters, I think, and kind of one of the newest theories in rhetoric and communication in the past, I don't know, a few decades at least, maybe 100 years or so. It's quite different from what you would think of in terms of persuasive speech. So it's not persuasion, it's invitation. Very quickly, let me go over the assignment and this week's module as usual. And if you want to stick around, I'll go through a quick slideshow on some of the important points about invitational speaking. So you can read through this introduction, but really the main thing here is, when you think about invitational speaking, think about the opposite. If you turn on the news, I don't even have examples for you today because there's so many out there. Everything seems to be back to chapter 1. What Deborah Tannen says is argument culture, right? There's always an argument, especially if you look at the Star Advertiser or any local newspaper, and you read down to the comments how people respond and what they say. It's very much trying to win an argument. So invitational speaking is not that. It's really different. The big picture, if you're going to hang out for like a minute here and listen to what I'm saying, is you're inviting someone to a party. Think about that. You don't want to force them. There's no, something is valued more than the other. We're all equal here. It's up to you, self-determination, if you want to come to the party or not. Okay? So that's the introduction for this week. Let me go through some of the assignments. So you'll see here the course learning objectives. And again, remember, don't worry about the chapters and every term and concept in there. If you're going to worry about something, worry about the learning objectives. So look at those objectives, right? I don't read them to you. Hopefully you're reading these every week. But what are we doing this week? We're doing invitational speaking. And why? Well, we're going to demonstrate effective verbal and nonverbal communication, right? We're going to adapt messages to ourselves and especially to others, right? If they may agree with us or not. And the last one there, we're going to demonstrate effective listening skills, and we're going to do that through the Padlet. So on the right-hand side of the screen here, you'll see the quiz is due on Wednesday. Same thing, take as many times as you want. Invitational speech and your outline will be due on Wednesday as well. After we post those speeches, there's one up already. Do the Padlet post here for the RISE feedback, and that's for your listening for this week. Here's the quiz. And again, here's the link to your textbook. And again, remember, you can always click in there, and there's a speaker icon. You can have it read to you, right? So if you're driving, I don't know if that's too safe, but maybe you're at home, you don't want to watch TV, listen to the textbook at least. This chapter is really fascinating. It ties up the whole book quite nicely. The key concepts here, I'll go through a little bit in the slides, but not right now if you're here just for the assignments. And these key terms here, try not to try not to Google them if you're not using the textbook at all. Because you Google these, maybe if you Google 3 of them here together, something will come up. But these are kind of vague terms, right? So these are really in terms of invitational speaking. So even just look in your digital textbook, and I gave you the page numbers there. And if you're not reading the whole chapter, please at least look at these terms, because they're really fascinating in terms of how you can talk to people in public dialogue, even down to interpersonal communication, right? Rather than persuading, let's invite. And a key concept here that's not really there is just pay attention that this isn't for everything, right? You can't apply invitational speaking to everything, nor should you. It's just an option we have. So after you take the quiz and you read the chapter, do your invitational speech. All of the discussion forums the past couple of weeks up till now should have been scaffolding up to what's my idea, and hopefully give you feedback on that. And then what are my main points, or what language will I use to include everyone? If you're not sure, again, go back and look at each other's discussion forum posts the last couple of weeks, and you kind of get to see what topics people are picking. They're really interesting, actually. And then you can also see the feedback I'm giving to folks, how to make it more invitational, or if they're on the right track already. So here we go for your choices. Kind of you have 2 choices here. Articulate a position, but articulate a position that's something that's not common. You wouldn't want to give an invitational speech on, like, I invite you to drink water, or I invite you to brush your teeth. That's something we kind of accept in general. So the challenge here is to invite us to see a position from a side we don't typically see, right? To give you one preview, there's an interesting one in there already. Andrew C. had one, and there's the speech is, should we develop technology and progress to the point where we can build a human colony on another planet somewhere out there, or should we save all of that and figure out how we're going to live here forever and sustain that, right? So it's an invitation to a position if he's going to say, well, I think we should do this or the other. Or if we're just to explore an issue, you could do both over here, right? We could do this or that. So either one, they're pretty similar here, but really think of things that we don't typically talk about, okay? As usual, 2 to 3 main points for these short speeches, no more than that. Be invitational. The reason why we skip the persuasive chapters, I think I've been teaching this for years. Everyone knows how to persuade, and it's kind of easy for you, right? I'm going to persuade you to be nicer to your parents or persuade you to brush your teeth more often. But to invite is really difficult, especially when the mass media and the mass narrative is really this persuasive model, right? Aristotelian model, ethos, pathos, logos. So let's try something different. Here's some links to some worksheets that might help you. This one's optional. It's the Invitational Speech Worksheet. And again, this is just if you're having a really hard time with a speech and you need something in front of you to work with, like a worksheet, just go ahead and read through this. And then, the parts in yellow here, just fill it in. You don't need to turn it in. If you do fill the parts in yellow, eventually you will end up with an outline. So these are all the same topics or terms we have in the book as well as in La Lima form there. But again, develop your main points, think about your organizational pattern, and these are all in the book as well. If you need more help, look in there, right? It's not required you do this, but if you're not really sure how to organize a speech, look that up in there. Hypothetical discussion with the audience. And this last thing is, make sure you do this basic speech outline. So if you choose to do this, you're almost done. If you don't do this, all you got to do here is, let me switch to this next one, this basic speech outline here, like you did for your informative speech. And remember, again, everything in brackets you can just delete and put in yourself, okay? So it looks very much like the informative speech outline. It should be a one-pager. If you go over and have your sources down there, that's fine. After you've done your outline, and again, email me if you need feedback, or just share your Google Doc with me, jbho@hawaii.edu, and then you're ready to go. Open up the Flipgrid, log in using your UH Google account there, and then come here and just post your invitational speech there. We've got one there already. This final assignment this week is very much like the final assignment for the informative speech week. After you do your speeches, go back and try to watch at least one of them. Watch more than that. They're really interesting. But watch at least one and give feedback here. So you're going to go to our course Padlet. I'll show you below. Again, log in using Google. Use your UH Gmail address. And when you get in there, really write at least 3 paragraphs. And what you're going to do is, so it's not the typical, as usual, it's not the great job. But try to add here, the reflect could be the great job, but inquire. Try to ask one really sincere question after watching the video. They're inviting you to do something. Ask a sincere question to keep that discussion going. And then elevate or enhance, right? How can we keep this discussion going now? Where do we take it next? And that's all you have to do. Let me show you a couple examples down here. Again, folks did this for the informative speech. You'll see my classes doing all kinds of stuff. But you're just going to put the person's name that gave the speech and the topic of their speech, and then in here reflect, inquire, and enhance, and that's it. If you have any questions or you need help, in addition to these Thursday 11:30 Zoom hours, we've added Tuesday at 4 p.m. Zoom hours. Same link right there. So if you need help this week, come on Tuesday or Thursday. Okay, so that's it for the assignments, and for this week it was a little bit longer than I thought. There's some detail there. If you want to hang out, I'll do a few more minutes on the slides and invitational speaking. Okay, try to keep this one quick as well. This is chapter 15 in your textbook by Dr. Cindy Griffin. Again, this is a fascinating chapter. This is a theory that Dr. Griffin and Dr. Sonia Foss from the University of Denver came up with, I believe in the late 80s, early 90s, and they wrote a really fascinating article on it you can look up. But this is basically, it's a new way, not a new way, it's a unique way to talk about, explore really difficult issues and maybe state an opinion that's not popular. So let's see here. On the first slide here, down here, invitational speaking. Again, think of it, it's not persuasion. Right? We always try to compare it to that, but it's just different. It's something. It's more of a dialogue. We're trying to clarify things or explore things, articulate things, right? We're not trying to persuade. I'm not trying to get you to come to my side. Public deliberation, engaging in a process that involves weighing of information and news. So I found one here. This is kind of recent. Hanauma Bay. For folks who know, it's very crowded. If you've been here, it used to be, I think there's some videos earlier people were saying, if you look in the Flipgrid, in my other class, that it used to be so different. You go there anytime. There were fish everywhere. You take bread. And nowadays, it's so such a high demand spot for everyone, tourists and locals alike, that they had to add parking. And now this is kind of a new one here. So I'm just kind of using this invitational as an example for a couple slides here. So to combat no-shows, the city will demand payment for Hanauma Bay reservations in advance. So what happened was they instituted this parking thing, right? You got to pay, you got to make reservations like a tea time you would, and then people were just making a reservation and not showing up. So how do we invite people to talk? What do we do with this? How do we get there? How do we come up with solutions to this? So if we want to invite people to figure this out or just talk about it in more detail, right? There's an invitational environment, and this is what you want to think about, right? Understand the issue fully, respect diverse views, appreciate multiple positions, enter into a dialogue, and create space where everyone has something that can contribute their voice. So over here on the right side, I cut and paste from the K&L, their article, where when we first launched the reservation system, you'll see here just summarizing that folks were not showing up. So what the solution is that non-residents must pay a $25 fee, and if they don't show up, that fee is kept, right? So think about this invitation. So even as a small local problem like this, we could talk about invitational ways. So that's the solution. What do you think? Is that a good solution? We could look at it both ways, right? Number one, you could say, well, by people no showing, it's rude. We're losing money. We're losing resources. The way to do that would be to maybe punish them financially, right? So that's one side. And then to talk about this invitationally, you could talk about the other side as well. Well, if people are no showing, they're not coming. Maybe that's better for the environment because there's not many people there, right? And you can go as deep as you want, but try to include all of the different sides. So even with this $25 fee now, think of maybe as a local, we're going, yeah, that sounds great, right? If you're not from here, you have to pay $25 to park at Hanuma Bay, and if you don't show up, we keep that money. Sounds great to us, okay? Can you think of the other side, though? Can you invite us to consider, explore it from the other perspective that says, maybe I'm from Utah and I'm visiting, and all Yelp and all the tour guides tell me, you got to go to Hanuma Bay. I got to go there, right? And I made my reservation, and something happened at our hotel. I got sick, I tripped, whatever, and I had $25. Gee, I really want my money back. So could you just understand both sides, right? And what that would do to Hanuma Bay. Okay, let me give you a little bit harder example here. So Hanuma Bay could be any kind of example. If you think about that, could be parking at Lani Kai, could be shutting off the roads anywhere. If you went to a city council meeting and you're more invitational, think how differently it would sound, right? Rather than just rah-rah for one side if you're presenting multiple sides. So let me show you a really hard one. And these are the three major things I think you should remember when you think about invitational speaking versus persuasion or any other kind of speaking, really. These three words: 1, equality; 2, value; and 3, self-determination. And if you can do that when you're speaking, you include a much wider audience, and you're kind of creating your own world as well, right? Wink, wink. So let me give you a hard one. There's 2 quotes here, okay? One is, I guess, Eastern, one is Western, if that helps at all. And the first quote says, "Hope is the foundation for which all successful goals are built upon." Makes sense, right? If you have hope, then all of your goals will succeed, basically, right? Here's another one from a couple thousand years ago, and this is Lao Tzu, the guy who wrote Tao Te Ching. And he says, "Success is as dangerous as failure. Hope is as hollow as fear." And you just go, whoa, wait a second. Let's explore multiple perspectives, right? Very quickly, for equality, are both of these major ideas, right, stances on life and success and hope, are both of these equal? You could say yes, for those who have hope and hope works for you, it's a real thing. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? And so on. Here's your examples, like you've been taught, 2 at the most. And then below that, success is as dangerous as failure. Hope is as hollow as fear. Could you give an example? Yeah, I can see that side too, right? I was hoping to be, like I told you in an earlier video, Maverick from Top Gun, but I'm like 5'4". Air Force Academy wouldn't take me, so here I'm teaching. No, I'm kidding. But it was hollow for me then, and maybe it was a waste of my time. So I can see both sides, right? They're both equal. Condition of value. Do I value both sides? To go a step deeper, how about the goals? Here's an invitational speech. So you don't need to do like a really hard specific problem. Some folks are choosing a really tough, specific problems. You could do more of a philosophical thing, a bigger one. I invite you, as an example, I invite you to not have goals. People go, what? That's what college is. Yeah. I can say that, but I'm going to value, look, you can have goals. I value that. Maybe I value when I was younger in college, or maybe when you're younger, you value goals, but you watch some of the videos as folks talk. Maybe as you get older, your goals change, or maybe you don't have goals. I can value that too. I can value people who have goals, and I can value those who don't have goals. Which is kind of, right, now you're kind of thinking, whoa. And the last one there, condition of self-determination. So goals or no goals, hope, success, fear, right? Success could be good. You can look at success as dangerous. You look example, that'd be your material for your speech. But you can look at all that. And at the end of the day, in the invitational speaking environment, I can say it's really up to you to think about hope and success and goals and how those affect you. And here's at least 2 different perspectives, right, on both. You decide. So it's very different from being persuasive. Okay, last slide. Keep it quick. Here's a few tips on invitational speaking. Really, there's 2 different kinds, and you'll find maybe there's more, but they kind of fit here. One is to explore an issue, just to talk about something we don't usually talk about, or 2, to articulate a position. Again, usually it's something that isn't usually talked about, right? So in both of these, state your intention. So in your speech, say, I'm really just exploring this. I'm not trying to persuade you. Don't say this, I'm not trying to persuade you, but you state that your intention is to explore, to articulate something, right? Not trying to get votes. And the second one here is really, they're similar in both, but present, for the exploring an issue, try to present 3 or more perspectives, right? For the time in this class, 2 is good, 3 if you can. Your personal perspective always counts. In a speech to articulate a position, always, always, always when you're doing this, fairly and ethically present the opposing position as well, right? So if you can do both, it's an invitational speech. And last one, this may be the hardest one, is stay true to your purpose. So if you really thought of, in a nutshell, invitational speaking is, I'm inviting you to my party. Here's my party. You can come or not. It's really up to you. This is what I think might be good for you. If that's your purpose, stay true to that when you're talking. Okay. Great job keeping up. Sorry for the long video. Read the chapter. It's really fascinating. It's a different way of speaking. I think we are used to it and we have seen it, right? But for some reason we think persuasion and debate is better, and I don't know why, right? It's about winning, but this is not about winning, okay? If you have any questions, please email me at jbho@hawaii.edu. Thank you for your almost 17 minutes today.